We're on our way to Hudson, North Carolina. It's time for another stop on the Carolinas Theater Trail. We are visiting one of the Carolinas' long-running dinner theaters at the Hub Station.
My name is Keith Smith. I work for the town of Hudson in customer service, and I direct several endeavors musically and theatrically, and I am the director of dinner theater for the town of Hudson since we started back in 2003.
Wow. So the unique aspect of what Hudson is doing as a town is actually putting together dinner theater for just the people in Hudson, or?
No, it's first you hit the nail on the head when you said it's unique because not many towns produce theater. We generally do 2 shows a year here, a big musical in the fall and a classic comedy in the spring. But the whole town's involved to some capacity. We had a meeting with Ann Smith and Rebecca Bentley, the town manager,
sure.
and Jimmy Hemphill and I back in 2003 talked about doing 1 show, and now we're on number 28.
Our Carolina Theaters Trail, we typically visit theaters that have historic significance. But here we have a town that has historic significance.
That's correct.
You're doing dinner theater in one of your repurposed buildings.
Yes.
So you brought a new life to this old school. And now you're attracting people from all over the region.
And that's exactly, you're great leading me in. That's what I was going to say. You'd asked me, is it just for Hudson? Well, it started that way. But we now have groups. We've expanded to really an area of maybe 150 miles out radius. At times we have people from Charlotte. We have regular groups from Gastonia and Greensboro that come. Have quite a few people from South Carolina that come. And of course still this whole region, the Unifor area as well.
I'd like to talk for a moment about the impact that theater has on young people who are getting into theater, and then as people move through life, remaining involved with community theater. How important is that?
Well, the first thing, starting with kids, very few kids are going to do this professionally or make a living at it, either in music or drama, but it gives them confidence, it gives them camaraderie with their fellow people on stage or in a choir. It's a great symbiosis. You really rely on each other.
Right.
But all kids should be exposed to it just to gain their confidence. They become better speakers.
Why not just theater? Why dinner theater?
Bill Bean, who was the mayor at that time, was very involved in making sure they secured this building and did something good with it. And so the discussion of theater came up. And as I said, we talked about 1 show, and here it is 28 shows later. This room at that time didn't have acoustical tiling. It was still, a live room, but it was very live then. So we brought in rugs. Bill Bean brought in rugs from Bernhardt, where he worked to put down rugs to absorb sound. I had people, I preached my mantra of speak loudly, slowly, and clearly. We didn't have mics, didn't have acoustical tiling.
Wow, so you were old school then. You actually
We had to be, yeah.
Well, that must, tell me about that. What was the first show?
The very first show was Dearly Departed.
Okay.
It's a comedy.
Yep.
I knew that should play well. And everybody, I think, thought the show was going to die for a while, but it turned out to be a great success. Yeah. Sound of Music, we had a dog and 55 people and a whole set right behind this. It was amazing how we were able to do that.
Wow.
But
that performance here was special, wasn't it?
It was. It was 2013, and after my dentist appointment, hadn't had anything to eat that morning, stopped at this little place called Troutman's in Concord. And there were these guys who obviously were the coffee clatch that were there every morning.
Right.
They knew everybody there. And those guys said to me, you see that guy over there? And I said, yeah. And they said, he was in The Sound of Music. I thought, well, he's probably, done a local show. Well, it turned out to be Dan Truitt, who moved to Concord, who was Rolf. That sings, I am 16, going on 17 in the movie with Julie Andrews back in 1965. Well, Dan kidded with me. We've become good friends since then, but Dan kidded with me and said he was 16 going on 70, which he was because September 10th of that year he turned 70, and our show was in October. So we brought Dan, and of course he played the captain. He couldn't play Rolf at that point. And we had turned away a lot of people to come see the show, but he was such a gracious man. But it really kicked off that new aspect of our dinner theater very solidly.
Sure.
And we say, listen, because we call it community theater, and you put the community in it. We don't settle for that. We're shooting for a professional production. To have a small town that's willing to produce shows, I mean, that's as we said, pretty much unheard of, that a town does it themselves.
I'm racking my brains just trying to think of other dinner theaters or community theaters that are actually basically produced by the municipality.
Yeah, I don't know of a lot, if any.
And I can't think of another one in the Carolinas. So if someone hears this, let me know if you know of one.
Sure.
But I think it speaks to the character and forward thinkingness, I think, of the community.
It does, and we rely on, since it is a town production, we have to be very fiscally careful with everything.
Right.
So we don't rely on taxpayer money. It's based up through our tax system, but we rely on ticket sales and donations and people who sponsor shows, and that's what we count on. So it makes you more fiscally responsible, knowing what you hold in the background, that you are responsible for, the town's funding and that sort of thing. So,
well, the Hub Center in itself promotes the arts, doesn't it?
It does.
It's I guess arguably it's the largest facility you have in town for bringing people together.
Sure.
And so much of what happens here now is a continuation of what it was originally birthed for, which was education.
That's right.
I think
business, education, and artistic element all coming together, all three of them.
I'm always asked, what's your favorite story? I said, the one I just did. That's
it.
That's the best one.
And that's how I feel about our plays, too. You live with that one. That's your baby at that time.
Yeah.
But this Bright Star was very special to me compared to all of them, because I was kind of in on the ground floor from that, seeing the process of how it developed on Broadway and then came out in the community.
Well, it was certainly a wonderful experience for the audience. I've enjoyed this visit. This is a wonderful example of dinner theater, not just dinner theater, but dinner theater in a community that truly has embraced it and made it happen. So I think the future's bright. Thank you so much, Keith.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.